Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
I can't believe how much I've been shaking. And fearful to go out of my apartment.
A man says he was assaulted in his building after he asked someone to wear a mask before getting on the elevator. The victim, who reached out to our whistleblower hotline, tells our Valley News team's Joshua Peguero now he's too scared to leave his home.
Kenneth Ortner says he was assaulted Friday afternoon inside the elevator of his building, Riverview Heights.
He had to hit me at least 5-6 times.
Ortner recently had several surgeries, including to partially amputate his foot. He's using a walker to get by. Yet on Friday, Ortner says he went back to the hospital as a result of the beating.
The anxiety was beyond belief and shaking, visibly shaking as I passed the 5th floor, afraid it was going to stop.
Medical records show Ortner suffered a concussion as well as lacerations to his face.
You can't tell me what to do, and I said, you're not getting on the elevator with me without a mask, I'm high risk. And he pushed me in the elevator and then proceeded to beat me up.
He says he reported the incident immediately to the Moorhead Police Department following the attack, but he says what surprised him the most is that he would be assaulted for asking someone to just simply put on a mask. Moorhead police tell us no one was arrested because this was a situation of he says versus he says. The person accused of assaulting Ortner told police he was not allowed to leave the elevator. Officers say Ortner should have just left the elevator, but Ortner says he could not, and the man should at least be cited for not wearing a mask.
I had my mask on, and there was just zero consideration for my situation.
In the meantime, Ortner says he was granted a restraining order on Monday against the person. In Moorhead, Joshua Peguero, Valley News Live.
Moorhead police say due to the lack of resources, officers don't enforce the Minnesota governor's mask mandate, but they can cite people. No one was cited in this incident. If you need help uncovering fraud and corruption in your community, call our whistleblower hotline, 701-237-6576. A member of our investigative team will get on the case. Well, turning to weather, it looks nice today, but what can we expect for the rest of the week? Let's check in with Hutch for our first alert forecast.
Well, we have a lot of wild weather for us this week. Some whiplash weather, Stacy. For tonight, though, a few high clouds and the showers that we started our day with out east have exited, leaving us with some cool 60s from Bemidji and into Lakes Country, and we are in the 60s now as well here in eastern North Dakota. Those high clouds not threatening tonight. Temperatures will slip into the 50s by bedtime. We'll have a few amount of clouds here in the Southern Valley. Up north, it looks a little cooler. We're expecting temperatures to sneak down into the 50s. With clearing skies overnight, we could see some areas dip down into the 30s. And speaking of that, we'll have details on some rain in the forecast, and we'll talk more about this weather whiplash the rest of our week. Some warm, some wind, some rain, and some frost and 30s. I'll have details on all that here in a few minutes.
All right, thank you, Hutch. Well, new tonight at 6, we're learning that more Greek houses at the University of North Dakota are being quarantined. Officials now say 15 of the 20 Greek chapters have been impacted. Earlier this month, the university announced that 6 chapters were quarantined. Let's take a look at the COVID-19 numbers in the area. In Minnesota, the Department of Health is reporting 679 confirmed cases and 1 new death linked to the illness. In total, more than 1,800 deaths have been attributed to the disease. In North Dakota, there are 114 new cases and 1 new death in the state. The death toll is at 143. Families in the valley are expressing concern about COVID-19 cases spiking in North Dakota. College kids were the first set of students to make their way back to the classroom, and since then, numbers have continued to go up. Some parents fear the same thing is going to happen in secondary schools, which is why some Fargo and West Fargo families are turning to virtual learning for the upcoming school year. Other busy parents tell us they're trying to keep their kids in person as long as they can.
I would much rather try and do everything we possibly can until it's at the point of like, okay, now we need to really like stay home and not worry about it. And we did for quite a bit of time at the beginning.
Fargo and West Fargo public schools say they've had more students enroll in the virtual programs lately. Both school districts have more than 1,000 students participating in online learning so far. Well, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is stressing the need for support for child care providers. During a press conference today, the governor, lieutenant governor, and U.S. Senator Tina Smith visited an in-home child care provider. The governor called for an increase in federal support as the need for child care is only increasing due to this pandemic.
Child care is an essential act that will make sure we're able to get that funding before the end of the year and make sure that we don't have this drop off, all for the very simple purpose of keeping these providers in this safe place for children in place so their families can go back to work and we can start tackling the issue of opening the economy even more.
Senator Smith has been pushing for $50 billion in federal funding for the nation's child care system. It passed the House, but not the Senate. Well, starting this Friday, certain groups of people will be able to get a free COVID test in Fargo. Testing will be available on Fridays for those who fall in these categories: people with a confirmed or potential exposure to a positive case, healthcare workers providing direct patient care, those who work in places where it's difficult to stay 6 feet away from people, and those who need to be tested for essential travel. The testing site will be at Rowe Farm from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information, just log on to our website, valleynewslive.com. A new internet challenge is putting teens' health at risk. Lake Region Healthcare in Fergus Falls says the Benadryl challenge is what it sounds like, a challenge urging people to take a dangerous amount of Benadryl so they can get high and potentially hallucinate. The challenge is circulating on social media, specifically TikTok. Healthcare workers say Benadryl can cause hallucinations, but at these higher doses, the concern is seizures, an irregular heartbeat, and even death. The body that was found in Arvilla, North Dakota on Friday has been identified as Aaron Paterka, who was reported missing. An autopsy is being conducted. The incident is still under investigation. Anyone with information should call the Grand Forks County Sheriff's Office. That number is 701-780-8280. We now know the name of the man who was stabbed to death in Grand Forks last night. Police say the man who was killed is 46-year-old Ram Monger. 44-year-old Shavadid Gali is facing murder charges. Police say the two men did know each other. Just before 10 last night, they were called to an apartment in the 2200 block of South 17th Street. That's where officers tell us Monger was found with stab wounds to his abdomen. We also know the name of the man who was shot and killed in South Fargo on Friday night. Police identified him as 41-year-old Santino Marial. It happened around 10:30 that night at 1104 44th Street South. Police say no one is in custody at this time. If you know anything about the incident, call police at 701-235-4493. Devils Lake police are investigating a shooting that happened there on Friday night. Officers went to the 300 block of 4th Avenue Northeast at around 10 p.m. Several shots were fired, but police say no one was hurt. One suspect was arrested. Charges are pending. A Purim man has died from serious injuries he got from a cycling accident. Mark Olson was taken off life support last week and died yesterday, according to his family. He had been in intensive care at Sanford following the accident he had on August 22nd while riding his bicycle. Those close to him say he spent almost every morning riding his bike. Police are investigating 3 instances of someone trespassing in a Grand Forks home once while the residents were inside. Officers say it happened at a home in the 2500 block of 9th Avenue North 3 times between August 23rd and 30th. Each time the man came to the home between 4 and 4:30 in the morning and walked around for several minutes. Nothing inside appeared to be missing. After the first time, the residents installed surveillance cameras to try to capture images of the suspect, and they did. You can see him right here. The suspect is described as a white male in his 20s, somewhere around 5'9" to 6 feet, with a slim build and dark hair. If you know anything, call police 701-787-8000. Well, coming up, how school officials plan to keep athletes safe. We'll tell you what precautions they're taking.
And many of you emptying your rain gauges this morning, providing reports. Here's a few of them. A little over an inch in the FM area, 4/10 in Grand Forks. 1.6 inches in the Monoman area, the big winners, and 1.25 inches in Lakes Country. Elsewhere, we had rain from Lisbon through Fargo and into northwest Minnesota. Quieter weather tonight, but details of a bumpy ride next.